Good morning, church. Welcome to the Crossing Virtual Edition. I am so glad that many of you have been able to stay connected in this disconnected and isolated time by viewing our posts and messages on Facebook, by making comments and sharing with one another. I encourage you to make phone calls to other people in the church and to encourage them and to uplift them and to continue to view messages and make comments on Facebook. That is a great way for us to stay connected. Today, we are going to have a message from the book of Lamentations. But before I present the passage, let me say this one statement. Remembering who our God is. Now that is enough reason for hope, regardless of our unpleasant circumstances. Remembering who our God is, that's enough reason for hope, regardless of our unpleasant circumstances. Lamentations 3, verse 19 through 24 says this: remembering my affliction and my aimless ways is wormwood and bitterness. The constant recollection causes my soul to be downcast within me. But then I remember this, and it gives me reason for hope. The steadfast love of our Lord never ceases. His compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. My soul will say, the Lord is my portion. In him I will hope. One of the things that is repeated in this passage is the concept of bringing to mind different experiences and different understandings. It's the idea of remembering. The first thing that we are called to remember is our own afflictions, or the afflictions that we share. These are the things that happen to us that we have no control over. Just by being part of the world, there are bad things that happen, like famine, war, pestilence, right? And what we have right now just reminds us of that. That the coronavirus demonstrates in a way that we normally don't notice how our human experience of lostness is prevalent. The coronavirus demonstrates for all of us at a global level that humanity has lost something. It's like the Beatles said, yesterday all my troubles seemed so far away. And there's something true about that 2 weeks ago we didn't even imagine that we'd be in a situation. You know, in this time, there will be many who get sick. There'll be some who even die. And all of us, every man, woman, and child, will experience loss at some level. A loss of freedom, a loss of connectedness. And this quarantine demonstrates that there was something better. In fact, that's the most painful part about this whole experience, is that we have this kind of, in our recent memory, this joyous echo of times that were better. And even though now that's been highlighted, the truth of the matter is that that is the basic experience of humanity. In each human life, there seems to be an echo of Eden, a sense that paradise is lost. We remember that we were created for something more than this, that we were created for a better, a righter relationship with God, that we were created for times of peace and of plenty, and that we are created for right relationships one with another. And somehow that has all gone awry. The second thing that we are asked to remember are our own wayward ways, our own aimlessness. What we recognize with the coronavirus on a global level, that the world is broken, is true also for the problems within, those things that we do have control over, those things that we are responsible for. It reminds us that we too, like this world, are broken. That our relationship with God is not as it should be. That our spiritual life has a level of selfishness and complacency that we wish wasn't there. That our relationships with others are just a little bit more self-serving than we wish that they were. In fact, when we look deep within, we find in ourselves a self-promoting and self-seeking spirit. We are confronted at some basic level with our own sinfulness. And that memory, that remembering causes us to feel bitterness and wormwood inside. It causes the spirit within us, our soul, to be downcast, to despair. But here's the good thing about bad news. Bad news, that darkness is a backdrop in which good news can really shine through. In other words, good news is really good if we've experienced something that is bad. The person who is rescued from a disaster doesn't understand the sweetness of rescue unless they've been in a dire situation. Someone doesn't understand the miracle of healing unless they've really been sick. And so one of the things that Lamentations draws us to is not just to remember the affliction and our own aimless ways, but to remember the good news that our God, His character, is reason enough for hope. So we want to remember the character of our God, and there's three things about God that this passage highlights. The first thing is that His steadfast love, or in the King James, His loving kindness, never ends. It never ceases. God's love is genuinely kind and genuinely nurturing. It is a love that is for us. It is the love that seeks to build us up, to lift us up out of the pit of our own despair. It is His love that seeks to cherish you, to honor you. It is His love that takes pride in who you are. It is His love that believes in you. It is His love that supports you. It is His love that is gentle with you. It is His love that cheers you on, that comforts you. It is His love that encourages you. It is His love that will do all things in order that you might thrive. His love is deep, genuine, never ending, never ceasing. He never stops loving you. The second thing that we hear about His character in this passage is that His compassions will never fail. He is compassionate in all things. He is merciful in all things. You know, that mercy is a kind of mercy that's endless. He never stops forgiving you. He never stops His desire to restore you, to wipe away all that's wrong in your life and to make it right. His forgiveness endures. Right? His compassions do not fail, and he wants to lift you up and make you clean, to make you stand right in a right way before him. He gives you second chances. The compassion of the Lord is that kind of gut compassion that just won't let go, right? That won't stop being merciful, won't stop believing in who you are. His compassion is what moves him in love to lift you up again and again and again. And the third thing that we learn about our God is that his faithfulness is truly great, that he is loyal beyond comparison. Our God is a faithful God. He is a God of covenant. It means that he doesn't wait for you to mess up or to break some kind of contract or to do something wrong so that you're just out of luck. His patience is unbelievable because he's loyal in relationship to you, just like a father to a child, right? He never stops being on your side. He never stops cheering you on. He never stops trying to get what's best for you. He is your advocate. He is your encourager. He is always on your team. He is your biggest fan. He made you that you might reflect his own glory. It's for his name's sake that he is faithful to you. So when we consider these characteristics of God, we realize this, that hope is a choice, right? My soul will say, Lamentations says, my soul will say, the Lord is my portion. He is the one who sustains me. In him I will hope. Right? It's a choice. Our faith is that which hopes in what cannot be seen, right? What is confident in what has been promised. Our hope is not dependent on our circumstances, as unpleasant as they can be. Our hope is in the character of God. And so as we start to bring things to mind, as we remember things, we can remember our afflictions and we can remember our aimless ways, right? But those things, if we dwell on them, will cause bitterness in us. They will cause us to have a downcast, despairing spirit. Instead, we draw our attention to the character of God, who is above our circumstance and situation. We look to God and we hope, because we know that God will ultimately bring to completion that which he has begun in us. We know that God will take us through this valley that we walk in now and take us to greener pastures on the other side. We know that we can hope in our God because our God ultimately and eternally will bring us to a place in which we will indeed thrive. And so instead of living in fear or in worry or in despair or in depression, instead of dragging around and trying to find some strength to get out of bed in the morning, I want you together with me to pray in a way that recognizes we do have hope beyond all measure in him who loves us steadfastly, who loves us steadily, who has compassion deeply for us, and who is faithful. Our hope is undying. And as we experience this time of disconnectedness, how can we proclaim and encourage hope to those around us? Now, I know that there has to be some distance between you and your neighbors and your friends and even your relatives. But maybe there's a way. You can pick up the phone and call and encourage somebody. Provide a meal and take it to the senior on your street that can't get out. To offer to go and do some grocery shopping for one of the seniors in our community. Whatever is needed, how can your action, how can your attitude provide hope and prove to the world that our hope in the character of God is indeed unending? Remember this. Remembering who our God is, that is reason enough for hope, regardless of any unpleasant circumstance. Church, I'm praying for you. Please be blessed.